who is going to win the Super Bowl?
I'll go with the New Orleans Saints. I think when you look at the New Orleans Saints, those storylines are all there. You look at them just getting robbed and, again, mentally rattled at times in the playoffs in the past. But again, I think when you look at just the circumstances, they're getting healthier now. They were 13-3 with Drew Brees out half the year. And again, they were still dominant. Again, they had that one dud game against Atlanta, but that was really it. They really dominated in many different circumstances with Kamara hurt, a lot of defensive players hurt, and now they're all healthy again. Their draft was okay. I don't think it was great, but they still had a decent offseason. Bring in Emmanuel Sanders for leadership. And again, Drew Brees, I mean, when is it going to be his time? When are the Saints finally going to get the benefit of the doubt? You look at the Chiefs last year, all the playoff wacky losses they had, and the Saints are kind of going through that same thing. Now the Chiefs finally overcame those circumstances. Andy Reid finally won one, and now you're going to see, I think you have the best chance of seeing it. Everyone's talking about the Buccaneers. That has to get in their head. That has to say, all right, that has to fire them up more when you look at the New Orleans Saints, and because they know they're better, and they know Tampa's going to get all this attention, and I think that really makes a difference, and I think they have a chance now to get a number one seed. Their schedule is a little easier than it was last year. NFC North, a lot of those teams got worse. You look at the AFC West, I mean, they have the Chiefs, but again, the rest are all kind of young teams we don't know what they're going to be. So they have a chance to be the number one seed, and they're next to impossible to beat at home without help from the referees at home in the postseason. So I'm going to take the Saints.
I'm taking, and there's no argument to this, the Baltimore Ravens. Adding Campbell and Derek Wolfe this offseason, solidifying their powerful defensive line. Their secondary is one of the most underrated secondaries in all of football. Their experience, the offensive line, which was one of the best offensive lines in football. Their running game, their three-headed monster last year, was one of the best running games in the league. And they have Hollywood Brown that really dominated in the second half of the season. This is a team that's destined to win a championship. Earl Thomas, they're so stacked from top to bottom. Their defense, their special teams was ranked third in the league last year. And Lamar Jackson, and you could say whatever you want, he became a completion type of quarterback. And if he can make the throws that he made last year and figure out things in the playoffs, which he hasn't done for the last 2 years, he's a young player, and he's starting to develop his skill as a player. And they added Dobbins, and everything like that. This team is stacked from top to bottom. Mark Ingram. I'm looking at their team right now. Tell me the weakness of this team. There is no weakness of this team. Their guard position, their wide receiving position, even their depth. You know who their fourth, fifth wide receiver on their team is? Willie Snead, okay? Willie Snead is their fourth or fifth wide receiver on this team. This team is stacked from top to bottom, and they're in a very, very, to my eyes, the weakest division in professional in the NFL this year. Go look at their team. You guys like Pittsburgh. I don't like Pittsburgh this year, especially with Ben Roethlisberger coming back from a major injury. The Browns, they have a great, talented team. I don't think they're going to be any good this year as well because I don't trust Baker Mayfield. And the Bengals, give me a break. The AFC is the weakest in all the divisions. When you talk about the NFC and the AFC, who's going to challenge them besides Kansas City? Nobody in the AFC. So I'm going to take Baltimore by a landslide.
Yeah, I'm going to have to agree with you, Errol, and go Baltimore. I think when it comes to Baltimore, I think they have so much depth, and they're just a dominant team overall. When you think about the running game, they have Mark Ingram, and obviously I really love J.K. Dobbins. I think that was a great value pick where they got him in the third round, second round. Mm-hmm. They got Lamar. The only downfall of this team is Lamar Jackson. If Lamar Jackson gets hurt, then obviously that is for any team when it comes to a quarterback. So it really all is on the shoulders of Lamar Jackson. But I'm huge on Marquise Brown. And I think Miles Boykin is going to take a big jump this year. So I think even though they have young receivers, I think they have a lot of talent there. You go to tight end. I mean, they got Boyle and they got Mark Andrews, who's dominant. The O-line's really good, but they're going to have to work on replacing Marshall Yonder, the long-time All-Pro who retired this all season. But they have two bookends, and Ronnie Stanley and Orlando Brown. I mean, you go to the defense. They picked up one of the best edge rushers in the league by getting Calais Campbell. And the only question on the defense is really the linebacker room, where they have a rookie and Patrick Queen, and an unproven player, LJ Ford. But I mean, they have the best cornerback tandem, I believe, in the league, with Marcus Peters locking down one side of the field and Marlon Humphrey on the other. And they even still have Jimmy Smith and Tavon Young, who gets injured quite often. And hopefully they hold on to Earl Thomas despite people trouble. But I think from top to bottom, this is the best defensive team, one of the best defensive teams. They have an ongoing offense that's one of the best offenses in the league, and they have one of the best cruisers in the NFL. So I think if a team that can do it, it's the Ravens. A team that's been there before, they're just younger now, but they still have the right pieces.
Yeah, the Ravens are a great pick. And Errol, you said something that stuck out to me. It is inevitable to me that the Ravens will win a Super Bowl. I just don't know if it's going to come this year. I think Lamar Jackson is proven or has not proven that he can succeed in the playoffs. He's obviously 0-2. I think for you to go into a season and expect him to win 3 playoff games at least, because that's what it takes to win a Super Bowl. And now only one team gets a bye, and it'll probably be, if we're going to guess, Kansas City at this point. But so he might have to win 4 playoff games. So for a guy to go from 0-2 to now 4-0, I think would be a big jump. I would probably be more comfortable in seeing him win at least 1 playoff game before expecting him to win a Super Bowl. And so that's why I'm going to agree with Speedy and go with the Saints and go with the guy in Drew Brees who has proven he can win a Super Bowl. Go with a coach in Sean Payton who, like John Harbaugh, has proven he can win a Super Bowl. And this is a team who I'm going to make an interesting take that might be the clip that gets recorded. They haven't been able to win the big one ever since the whole Bounty Gate scenario that happened. And it's interesting to think that might be what's contributed to being screwed over multiple times in the playoffs, whether it be refereeing or a terrible play or unluck. Karma is what you can call it. And it's like Stevie said, there's going to be a point where that karma doesn't come back and haunt them, and they are able to overcome. We saw it with Andy Reid, finally able to win the big one. And New Orleans just seems like a team who's been on the cusp, have had the most talented team year in and year out, but for some reason just finds a way to lose in the playoffs, whether it's their fault or league or whatever you want to blame it on. And they're coming back again with an even more talented team.
Your time is up, Rob.
They added Emmanuel Sanders.
What is this, like Brandon and me versus you and Speedy? Jesus.
Yeah, we're now going tag teams. This is the debate war where we don't know which side we're going to be on.
It's the war inside the war. It's the war room out here.
It's the war room. Go ahead, Speedy.
All right, this one probably will be a little more back to normal with the sides we picked. Which MVP season in the NBA was better? Steph Curry's unanimous MVP season or Russell Westbrook's MVP season in 2016-2017 where he averaged a triple-double for the entire year?
All right, so I think this is, looking at time, it's probably our last one. And
Go ahead. Give Steph Curry all the credit you want to give him so we can sink you like a bug. Come on.
I wish you didn't say that because I was going to throw the meanest curveball and just go with Russell Westbrook just because I knew you were going to also say Russell Westbrook. But let's be honest. This guy won unanimous MVP for a reason. He won 73 games, something Russell Westbrook didn't even come close to win his MVP year. Obviously, they had much better teammates and a better coach and everything like that. But he completely changed the game that season. This guy made 400 threes. Before that, no one's ever made more than 300 except himself. He made 100 more three-pointers in 1 year. He took a jump we've never even seen before, and he did it at such a level that beyond stats, beyond numbers, forget all that. When I'm watching the game and I'm watching these two players play, Russell Westbrook, who has the stats, and really that's his only argument, the fact that he gets triple-doubles because he has the stats on rebounds and assists, etc., or I'm just watching a player dominate. You see Steph Curry shoot the ball, it takes the life out of the other team. He goes on these Curry flurries in the third quarter. That was the year he started doing that. And it just completely takes the life out of the team. He'll go on a 20-0 run himself, and he'll put his team in a great position to win. And he was the only player who can say that he led a team to 73 wins. No other player in the history of basketball can say that they led a team to 73 wins. So to say that to say that Russell Westbrook's MVP season where he padded stats is better than Steph Curry, who led his team and dominated and led him to wins, I think would be foolish.
I think this is a pretty easy conversation. I think it's clearly Steph. When you think about the things that Steph's done that nobody else has done, there's multiple things. He's made the most three-pointers of all time, 400 plus. He's the first unanimous MVP of all time, and he led his team to 73 wins, the most of all time. Steph literally changed the game that year. He literally changed the way that fans look at shooting three-pointers and the way that fans approach the game. And when it comes to Russell Westbrook, he's not even the first player of all time to average a triple-double in a season. Oscar Robertson was the first player. So he didn't do anything that we've never seen before. And like Rob said, he takes terrible shots. He's past his stats. I mean, he does a little bit too much for me. It's not efficient enough. when it came to Steph Curry, he's the unanimous MVP for a reason. He broke multiple records. I think it's clear.
Yeah, so bring up all of the numbers you want to bring up to support your argument. That's all it is.
Go ahead, Speedy, because I got a lot to give to you guys.
All right, so both of us are going to take Russell Westbrook here. And I think when you look at it, the most impressive thing you have to look at for a guy averaging a triple-double a year is it's a point guard. It's not your LeBron James. It's not Anthony Davis. It's not a guy like that. It's a point guard getting 10.7 rebounds a year. Yeah, okay, you could say it's stat padding to some extent. Every player stat pads in the NBA. I'm sure Steph Curry has too. He's taken extra threes in order to get that record up in certain times in the games. I didn't watch every game of that season, but I'm sure he did that. And when you look at Westbrook getting 10.7 rebounds a game is really impressive. And not to mention, he played on a team that year that just lost Kevin Durant. And who gained Kevin Durant? The Warriors. So Steph Curry gains Kevin Durant in that instance.
And he begged Kevin Durant.
Right.
He begged Kevin Durant to come and play with him.
So who was Russell Westbrook's next best player? Serge Ibaka was traded too that year. So his next best player was Steven Adams. Andre Roberson's an offensive liability who plays a lot because of his defense.
Speedy's favorite.
So then you got who? A young Domantas Sabonis. I mean, who else was really on that team? Jeremy Lamb, guys like that. That's who Russell Westbrook was getting 10.4 assists a game to, in addition to 31.6 points per game. You have to be able to shoot a little to get 31.6 points per game. It's not just all driving to the hoop. So, yeah, you can knock the efficiency all you want. He's not playing with guys that are also shooters, too. He's playing with inside scorers and, again, guys that are defensive players more than anything else. So I think it's definitely Russell
And
Westbrook.
first of all, you guys talk about Steph Curry did as an MVP, winning it all out. Just remember that Russell Westbrook did win an MVP. And again, he's an eight-time All-NBA player to Steph Curry's 6-time All-NBA player. And you look at their numbers, this guy averages a triple-double every single game. Now, you talk about, Steph Curry, he plays with all the great players, Klay Thompson and Draymond Green and all the players. And even their bench is one of the best benches in basketball. Go look at the bench of Russell Westbrook. Even look when they were winning with Kevin Durant and Baca and what's his name? And, no, the other one from the Rockets. Harden. When you talk about Russell Westbrook and his development as a player and even as a leader, he never left. He didn't want to leave OKC. He wanted to stay there. OKC traded him to the Rockets. He didn't want out of there. Kevin Durant wanted out of there. And you talk about Steph Curry and the greatness of what Steph Curry has done. Steph Curry is a great three-point shooter. Look at all-around game. You talk about assists. This is a guy who won a 2-time assist champion. He's a 2-time assist champion. By the way, did Steph Curry ever win an assist? Was he ever an assist champion? No. Now, Steph Curry won 2 MVPs to Westbrook's one. And Westbrook is also a 2-time All-Star MVP. You talk about and you go back and forth and you compare and contrast both players. Numbers don't lie. And you can see it. Last year, Russell Westbrook averaged 47.4 field goal percentage. That was to Steph Curry's 40.4 for the little bit of time that he did play. The year before that, Russell Westbrook had a better field goal percentage in a whole season than Steph Curry did. And you talk about three-point shooting. Yes, he is not a three-point shooter that Steph is. Who is? Who is? I mean, Ray Allen, Reggie Miller. There are not many guys, and he's a great three-point shooter. But that's his game. He's a great ball handler. That's what he is. And he's a great shooter. Defensively, he stinks. I'm sorry. He's not a great defender. He could steal the ball, but he's not an all-around great defensive player. Russell Westbrook's amongst the top 3 defensive point guards in the NBA.